Good morning. Have you ever been to Nzulezo? They call it the village on stilts, and it's exactly that. A whole township of houses, property, and people held up by skinny bamboo stalks and planks of wood, totally surrounded by miles and miles of water. Now, at first sight, your brain rebels against what your eyes are telling you. The whole thing is standing on bamboo, nothing more. Bamboo that has been soaking in water since the days of the ancient Ghanaian Empire. Everything you know about science and logic will tell you that it's impossible for those skinny stalks to be holding up entire houses filled with people and goodness knows what else. But there they stand, proud, strong, and effective. Now, the science is actually pretty simple. There are lots and lots of them, and they work together to spread the weight of the houses and keep them steady for years and years. That's it, really. Loads of them working together to achieve the same purpose. Not massively complex if you think about it. The people of Nzulezo themselves operate on pretty much the same principle. Their community is small and isolated, and so they tend to do a lot together. They fish together, they farm together, they operate the community's few transport canoes together. They provide health and education for their children and generally watch each other's backs because, well, they really don't expect anyone to come and do it for them. Now, it occurs to me that as a nation, there's a lot we can learn from the people of Nzulezo. Their lives are far from perfect, but they are responsible for each other. They accomplish things by working together. They don't sit around blaming outsiders for their circumstances. Most importantly, they don't turn on each other. They work together towards the same goal, just like the many skinny bamboo stilts holding up their community. Now, in our society, every single thing is turned into partisan politics. You wake up in the morning, your lights are off, and this is somehow a reason to start insulting a political party, either for causing the problem or for not solving it when they were in power. You don't have water. And some political party is to blame for this, not the pipelines that are over 100 years old, not the people who have built on waterways making maintenance impossible. No. Why blame them when you can blame your party, right? Your children are fighting for the right to cheat in Wasi. And it's not because they didn't learn. No. It's not even because the teachers didn't teach them well. No. It's because the wrong party is in power, right? Or the previous administration didn't do enough about education, right? The road to your house is costing you a fortune in shock absorbers, but you can't have a constructive conversation about it without it turning into a "we built more roads than you" competition. Seriously, who cares? Will any of that point scoring fill the potholes for you? Oh, in our time we recorded the lowest number of armed robberies. How is that supposed to make the poor pregnant woman who was robbed and sexually abused at gunpoint in an ambulance feel any better? Everything that happens to us, from corruption to coronavirus, is blamed on politics just so that politicians can use them as excuses to insult and incite violence against each other. We so easily forget that we are all Ghanaians. We so easily forget that we all want the same thing, a better life. We all want our children to inherit a better nation. We all want better health, better education, better jobs, cheaper fuel, stable energy, a stronger currency, safer roads, better security, and perhaps fewer boot-for-booting, all-die-be-dying, private militia-owning female Supreme Court judge threatening gunshot at registration center firing politicians. We all want the same things. So when will we start working together to achieve our common goals? My dear friends, we're all bamboo stalks soaking in the water. The more of us there are standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder, the longer we can hold up our society. We don't have to agree on everything all the time, but we have already agreed on one thing, that we all want Ghana to work. So let's stand together, spread the weight, and hold our beloved country above the water. My name is Kojo Yankson, and no matter who you are, if you love Ghana, then I'm on your side. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa CBD. Now, in our first story, the multi-structure maternity and children's block at the Konfanachi Teaching Hospital, which stalled for 45 years, is to be pulled down for reconstruction after failing a structural integrity test. Sources close to the hospital and the Ministry of Health say a team of engineers found sections of the structure to be weak with brittle concrete and rusty iron rods. This will be the second time the structure will be pulled down for failing a structural integrity test. LFM's Erastus Donko has been to the project site and now reports.
Started in 1976 by the IK Champions National Redemption Council, this magnificent edifice was part of plans to expand the Konfanachi Teaching Hospital. The old maternity block, it has been called, was estimated to hold a 1,000-bed medical center capable of soaking a major part of Konfanachi's congestion challenges. Now, this is the second time we are going to see a demolition of this building due to structural integrity challenges. Now, we've been told that currently, per the assessment of various engineers, the structure cannot hold when fully completed with equipment, staff, and patients due to one weak concrete structure and some rusting iron rods in there. Now, this assessment by the experts have been presented to the cabinet of the government, and they have agreed that this structure should be pulled down. Now, no timelines has been given yet as to when it will be pulled down, but it has been confirmed that it needs to be pulled down and reconstructed starting from the ground. Now, I'm saying this is the second time it's going to be pulled down because in 1999, under the administration of the first president of the Fourth Republic, Jerry John Rawlings, the administration had to pull down the earlier structure due to its weak infrastructural integrity. But again, work has stalled, and today we come back to the same problem. Parliament in 2019 approved a loan of 155 million euros from the Dutch bank to complete and equip the block for use within 36 months. In May last year, President Akufo-Addo cut short for the completion of the project. But government sources say Cabinet has rather approved the demolition of the entire structure to start reconstruction from the scratch due to structural integrity challenges. Experts say after an assessment, the building was found to be weak. If the demolition goes through, it will be the second time after it was pulled down in 1999 for the same reason at another stage of completion. On the streets of Kumasi, there are mixed reactions to the development.
Sometimes, or most of the times, it is better to totally demolish, pull down, and build from ground, which comes in cheaper, far, far cheaper than keeping the existing and trying to make extensions and adapt those old buildings. So first of all, because of what it was for, the integrity, you may be using different strengths of concrete, different strengths of piling because it's a high-rise building. So maybe and if you have different strength of piling, that can cause problems. In order to reinforce one piling to ensure that they are the same strength, you may, it will involve a lot of cost, and it is easier to do it all over again, making sure that all the piles you're doing are of the same strength.
I think if that's what they have decided to do, it will be a waste of money and waste of resources as well, because you can't just decide to pull everything down just like that. What they could have done was maybe to make things, like put things together. If they could have maybe, I don't know what word to use, that strengthen the structure. Yes, if they could have done that, I think it would be better, rather than pulling everything down and starting all over. That would be a waste of money, a waste of everybody's time. Maybe, who knows, it could be that somebody else would want to put some money in their pocket. So he has decided to allow that to go on. But it is not in the best interest of everybody in the country.
And of course, Dana a week near a banker so good with this robo because a bit to win either. Abba, obey ye, but nipa be common. Send a dining senior horde in it. A bit me broke nipa. Saban so be no iron for fra, many are buying argument. Anna Sisi and modern Ghana. Fancy first from me and a bare 2-story building, a bit my change yak for. Because of, say, nipa more air doors on the air doors. Intermediate, Saban Bay and Yamni, name of Nintemono. Anna, yes, said, but quantum my senior, and quay nappy jato.
When completed, the facility will serve as a referral center for 12 out of 16 regions in the country. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko.
Away from that, being a mother of a child with a disability can be a burden. But what happens when that mother or caregiver is also suffering from a chronic medical condition and needs special care even more than the child? In the following report, Joy News' Beryl Ernestina Rishta tells the sad story of a 40-year-old Georgina Ankara whose life is fading away due to diabetes.
My name is Georgina Yawa Ankara. I have 2 children. The last born is 12 years, but I have forgotten the age of the older one. My mother and brothers stayed here with me. They are all dead.
That is Georgina Yawa Ankara struggling to tell me about herself. She lives in one of the poor, densely populated communities in Dome in the Greater Accra region. Yawa claims she was diagnosed with diabetes many years ago. She looks much older than her actual age, her hair falling off strain after strain, every layer of her skin saggy and riddled with wrinkles. The frail-looking woman is unable to do anything for herself. Almost every day, she drags herself to the street to beg for alms.
This is the room Yawa sleeps in. She shares this same room with her teenage daughter, Nyonyo. This room is filled with lots of things, from clothes packed in bags, bowls, basins, which looks untidy, and even cobwebs. This room looks untidy and unkempt. Yawa shares the same room with her daughter. Days when her daughter is not around, it means Yawa has to drag herself on her buttocks to even pick something from the chair or the floor. This is the life Yawa and her daughter have been confronted with for the past 9 years. A life of misery, a life of abject poverty.
Life has been tough for Yawa. Money to access treatment for her condition has been a challenge. She has almost no teeth in her mouth, her tongue weakened with pain that muffles her speech. Yawa has been battered by poverty, and even more so where she lays her head to rest from life's troubles is in a sorry state. Dust, cobwebs, and thick filth have enveloped the room. She appears to have been cut off from her family because of her condition. Grace Damashi is her neighbor who has been here long enough to witness the suffering of the 40-year-old.
I heard her condition is diabetes, and this has made her crippled. She drags herself to the streets to beg for alms. She was a very beautiful lady and very hardworking, who was also very neat. We, her neighbors, sometimes provide support to her. She does everything in her room, cooks, urinates, and even defecates there.
Yawa's woes have deepened because her second daughter, Nyonyo, lives with Down syndrome. She is unable to provide and care for her teenage daughter because of her helpless state.
The friend was saying,
okay.
What did you say? 6 years.
Yes.
For a long time, Nyonyo was miserable, lonely, and always looked dirty till a teacher in the neighborhood found her roaming on a school compound.
The first time I saw her, she didn't know how to bathe. So for the first year, I was bathing for her every day. But now, When she comes and I'm in class, she would go for the bucket, fetch the water, and then bath for herself. Sometimes if she's very dirty, then she cannot do it on her own, but she tries. For now, she knows I have to take bucket. Go. She knows where she takes her bath every day. She knows.
The 3 weeks that Greater Accra was placed under lockdown in 2020 to help contain COVID-19 pandemic were the most difficult days of her life. No food, no friends, and no support system.
Because it was a lockdown, I was not visiting. But periodically, I call teachers who live around Domi to check on her for me.
Gloria Sari is a special education officer with the Dom Circuit. According to her, Nyonyo's consistent and unkempt appearance to school aroused the curiosity of the teachers to trace the whereabouts of the parents.
We met her one day on the school compound. Lots of children gathered around her, making fun of her. Then I met my sister Lizzie, who also told me she has met a girl like that. She even gave her a bath. So I asked, has the mother noticed it? She said no, she is always around dirty, so I just gave her a bath. I said, if the girl is in school and we are into inclusive education, then let's follow up to the house, find out who the mother is, and let them know that this child can be in school. That is how come we came home and found the mother bedridden. Then at least she could see, she was telling us she was hungry. It was pathetic that day.
The absence of parental support or oversight for a teenager like Nyonyo exposes her to danger. Gloria therefore fears for the worst.
I meet parents who are well able, going up and down, but to come and meet someone in a dirty environment, excuse me to say, not being able to do anything for herself, and she telling us not to take the girl away from her because she's the one who takes care of her. It was pathetic. Since she's a girl child, and the way she is, once she's full and she gets anywhere that is shady, she lies down, she's off. And any rascal can do anything to her. That is our fears. Though we have enrolled her in school, she's on and off. But once she's in the community, we believe the social welfare will have to come in to help her.
All her dreams seemed to be slipping away by the day, and so is life itself. Every day is a painful endurance, and the thought that she may not enjoy a future with her daughter depresses her.
I want God to help me take care of my children before I die. I need help to walk.
Despite the glaring realities staring at her, she remains upbeat about the situation. A desperate cry to be lifted out of this misery. For now, only time will tell if Yawa's situation would get better so she and her daughter Nyonyo can live fulfilling lives. Beryl Ernestina Richter's report for Joy News.
That was a sad story of Yawa, and anyone touched to help can get in touch with the news team or the producer of this report, Beryl Richter, on 024-819-6357. 024-819-6357. The number again, 024-819-6357. And that's how I end the AM News with me, Mapito CBD.
Welcome to another beautiful morning. In case you're just joining us, well, this is the news review. It's a pleasure to have you. Avi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Tired already? No, I'm not tired. I'm good. I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, but I am tired. I mean,
you shouldn't
yesterday
be.
we were all talking about how draining everything is getting, sometimes even just hearing news about, oh, another person has bitten the dust, got COVID and all of that, it drains you. And I was mentioning as I introduced the show, on the back of KATH's documentary, you know, the pieces put together. Sad incident. A friend contacted me recently, and it was all about, oh, she needed someone who could perform a certain role in a certain situation for her. And I was thinking, then later she said, oh, it's for my mom's funeral. And it hit me. I was like, when did this happen? To cut a long story short, her mom has a certain comorbidity. Recently, something happened, an amputation had to happen. They take her to hospital. And guess what? Through the negligence of the hospital, her mother gets COVID. Now, mind you, I just said she has a comorbidity. So within a very short period, she's gone. And my friend also contracts COVID. But she just doesn't want to go through the wrangling of court and everything, because this is actually someone who's a legal person. She just doesn't want to. But these are things happening. And people, pregnant women and all, are being exposed to, I mean, you don't go with one thing to resolve and then walk away with even more wahala.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have a big challenge. There was some known person who also put out there today, was it yesterday, that she had been looking for a facility where she could take a COVID patient
with
or
a
person with
ventilator.
COVID-19
So
with
she
ventilator. Exactly. And she had been searching, so she had to put it out there on Facebook, I guess, hoping that somebody would, you know, step in and help. The reality, Ben, is that the facilities are not enough. So Kolibu, for instance, and when we get to that matter, we will talk about it, because they don't have a place solely for that. And
even the designated centers, you would see what, 15 beds, 10 beds, and the rest, for those that even have any designations for COVID. So it means, I mean, looking at the numbers we are putting out, obviously, you probably wouldn't even get, you know, a bed if you needed it in some dire situation. And Mama, we have the case count for today. Maybe you could walk us through that.
So 702 new cases. We're still hovering around the 700 figure. I think we came down just for 2 days, and we're back with the 700. Current active cases, 7,866. Not good. I'm just trying to bring, in terms of the severe and the critical cases, where we are with that. But these are the figures. If this doesn't scare you, I don't know what else would. There are people sharing their everyday stories with us. And later on, when you watch KATH's piece, where can you imagine that you actually don't have COVID, and you are pregnant and you're in the hospital, but you're sharing the space with persons
who has
exactly.
COVID. And especially when now we're very worried about the trend. You know, last year, at the very outset of COVID, we were not sure, because we're still learning about the virus. We're not sure whether it was transmissible to children and all of that. Even now, there are doubts about it, but we are seeing children days old, a few days old,
11
months
days old,
very young, getting it. So there are complications, and you can't take any risks. So the mother gets it, and God forbid, if the mother becomes a casualty, and if a C-section is not done quickly to save the child, you could have 2 casualties just because of someone's negligence.
Oh, there was a recent story, and this is not just a story because it happened to somebody that I know, a friend's friend. The woman died. They had to take the baby out premature. Yeah, because of COVID. So, listen, we have 86 severe cases, 29 in critical condition, and as you've seen, the death figures have also gone up, 561. That's it.
COVID, no, before we delve into the papers, COVID is real. Don't take it for granted. Last night, one of my many mothers called, and guess what? She also has it. 71 years old.
Oh, no.
But she's tough as nails, but the thing is, you just don't want to get it. The symptoms, the things she's seeing, you just don't want to get it. I don't know how to say this enough, but trust me, you don't want to get it. Let's delve into the papers, Mom.
I will do the Daily Graphic, the Finder. I've got the Daily Statesman and the Business and Financial Times.
Right. Any more?
the Ghanaian Publisher is the other paper that I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Ghanaian Times Daily Guide, the New Publisher, the Custodian, and the Daily Dispatch are those for me. Those are the ones.
Okay. So if I may, the Daily Graphic newspaper, front page of the Graphic today, you can't reopen case, Supreme Court tells Mahama, time to tax Momo proceeds. Esla Owusu Ekufo. And then roads dualization in Often, Minister designates assures. Yesterday he was going on and on about the roads, and then the critical question, the money to fund what you're talking about. That one went on for quite a bit, and that's where the increase in the toll thing came in. But if you go to the...
Right before you go, I just want to pick your brains briefly on that. Way back, I tried really to get, for example, how much exactly we get from those toll booths, the major ones, every day. I couldn't get a specific figure, but the ballpark figures I got, when I put them together and multiplied them by the number of days in a year, huge sums of money.
Mm-hmm.
But even look at our motorway. Mind you, this was made from what? Concrete, originally. Now, even the patches that are there, we are patching them with asphalt and all sorts of... So what real maintenance are we even doing on our roads, to talk of all the money we are taking? I have a friend there, she's developed a habit. She says when she gets there, they know her, she doesn't pay. And she keeps telling, it's not because she can't.
That was a boycott.
I'm not putting this there as a bad example for people to
my
follow,
son has suggested that to me.
She says, you people know you're not doing the right thing. Look at this stretch of road. Why should I pay? And she always passes by.
There was a general boycott sometime back on the Accra-Tema motorway. The toll booth there, people just insisted that they would not pay the toll. My son said, Mommy, so why do you pay it? And I told him it's used to maintain the roads. I said, but these roads, so Mommy, then don't pay.
What are they maintaining?
In the center spread, phase 2 of Obechebi-Lamte interchange commences. Okay, so that's why you have to pay the road toll, right? Let's pay attention to mental health. That's a consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Eugene Dodoy. He's emphasized the need for the country to pay attention to mental health. He's also a lecturer at the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho. He says Ghana also needed to reach out to people whose work predisposed them to suicide. More on that in the center spread. Let's see on the back page. Obuasi Rotary Club assists 20 communities. Children Believe supports flood victims in Saboba district. It's a non-governmental organization and it's called Children Believe. They presented assorted food items to victims of last year's floods in Saboba district in northern Ghana. Well, we thank them when we forget, because we just simply tell the stories and we make noise and then we go and sleep. But after a year, they still remembered the victims and they've made some presentation to them. Yeah, that's what I'll highlight on the front and back and center spread of the paper.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. Jean Mensah as adverse witness. Supreme Court dismisses motion. Then pastor remanded over police enlistment scam. I'll just take a bit of a bite at this. One pastor, Joshua Asante of the Lifelong Chapel at the border town of Nyive in the Volta region, was on Monday remanded by the whole circuit court in connection with the police enlistment scam. Now, Pastor Asante, 39, allegedly posed as a police detective and swindled a senior high school leaver of 4,450 Ghana cedis under the pretext of enlisting her into the Ghana Police Service. I just bring it up because now we've come to know the reality that even the men of God or purported men of God are also in this involved in this scamming activity. If the men of God, men of the cloth are doing this, then...
When I first saw the headline, I thought, oh, maybe there's a big police officer in his church, and he probably promised people that he would get this big so-called police officer to get them enlisted. But to actually pretend that you are the policeman, that one day, he meant to do it.
That's for the legal consequences. I can only pray for him. 853,009 math sets, calculators to be distributed to 2021 WASI candidates, and the energy minister designate has actually been talking about that. My only concern there When were these supposed to be
before the examination, but the
where are we now?
Consignment came after the examination.
And you know, the blame was put on COVID. COVID creates some convenience, though. You can always blame everything.
No, but they did stop the children from writing the exam.
Bit is, when were they supposed to be delivered?
Marital
pressures, and this one, a great concern for me. Marital pressures, COVID-19 complications, cause of police suicide.
Oh.
I'll get into that story, should we have enough time. Government to expand agric mechanization centers. Stakeholders in education from 24 countries hold online forum on peace. That's in the center spread of the paper. Let's do some sports on the back page. Africa under 20 Nations Cup satellites in flying start after that thumping victory over their Tanzanian counterparts. Then Goal-shy Oli beat Sharks. I think right now, while I'm a solid Kumasi Asante Kotoko fan, I think the team that is really, really on fire is Accra Great Olympics. Oligbogbo. As for a certain heart of oak, the oak tree is rocking.
I've gone to Karela.
You will not cross the Ankobra.
I have crossed already. I have crossed that. The people love me. Hey. Yes. I am part of them now.
You know, I have to speak to George Adu about this. Let's check out the Finder.
Yeah, front page of the Finder newspaper. Dr. Baumia's brilliance compelled Dr. Farijan into the witness box, not subpoena. That's according to Kojo Ponkrema, who is one of the spokespersons for the second respondent in this election petition. 542 succumbed to COVID-19, 33 others in critical condition. Well, there's good news and bad news. Good news is that those in critical condition, if you look at the Ghana Health Service website, the figure has gone down to 29, so not what the 33 that the paper is reporting. However, the deaths gone up, 561, again, not the 542, so figures keep changing real quick. Mahama failed to adduce evidence and show how it will help resolve the case, according to the Supreme Court. They've got a picture of the Chief Justice, Enini Yeboah, who is part of the 7-member panel, in fact, presiding. Ex-President Mahama files 2 more applications on the back of the decisions so far. The one is a review. The review is actually not on yesterday's application that was dismissed. It's on the 11th February ruling, which was to the effect that you cannot compel a party to a case to adduce evidence. Remember that decision that said they could not compel the Electoral Commission's witness, which is Madam Jean Mensah, to give testimony. That is the decision that they are seeking a review on. And the date is on Thursday. The date is on Thursday. But the schedule that the court has given, tomorrow is the closing arguments. You must file, they said, on or by tomorrow. Today, Wednesday. Yes. And then tomorrow, Thursday, court was going to hear highlights of those arguments. But this review has also been scheduled for tomorrow. I thought we were going to have like a very short day tomorrow. It looks like it's going to go very long because they have to hear the review.
Well, it appears this case is really, at some point, you begin to wonder whether it's closing immediately.
Well,
because if you look at the dynamics and what the NDC wants to do, even subsequent to yesterday's ruling, then you begin to wonder the review they are seeking and all of that. We'll just wait and see what happens tomorrow in the coming days.
Tomorrow, Thursday. Okay, well, Kokobot CEO celebrate Chocolate Week with school children in Tana North. 1,200 kilometers asphalt overlays completed in 2020. And that sums it up. What's on the front page of the Finder newspaper.
Let's do the daily guide now. Judges have predetermined agenda. Dr. Dominic Ayene bringing up this one. And he said quite a few things that have
yesterday,
got a few tongues wagging. Yesterday, he just couldn't hold it. He just couldn't hold it. At a point in time, this was in the early days of the court case, he got a bit of a tongue lashing from, I've forgotten which one of the judges. at a point in time, pulled him aside, and you know,
his name was also mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was directly, you know, addressed in that bit, though there was a friendly side to it, but obviously not enthused by, you know, proceedings so far.
Hang on, no. Did I ever mention Dr. Dominic Ayeni? It started with Frank Davis. And I know that Marietta was also mentioned.
In court, not one of the out of court.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's an encounter in court, actually. Interchanges major roads for second term. Then election petition, Mahama dismissed 7-0, can't reopen case. And fight erupts over gaming license. In other stories, check this out on page 6. Edubuahin acts as president's rep at Finance Ministry, Charles Edubuahin, who's himself a former deputy finance minister. You can't compare 2013 and 2021 petitions. That's according to Kojopong Kroma. But on page 5, you can check out this international story. Dubai ruler's daughter reveals hostage ordeal. You can check out those details there, as well as Myanmar's San Suu Kyi facing new charges amid protests. On the back page, why Papich, Hostadane Papich, dumped Heart of Oak?
Oh.
Your Heart of Oak?
He should move on.
Why is he dumping, though? But some have said that he was just using the team as a stepping stone. He had his agenda. And
but even the national team, didn't we have Milo and all those people come?
Rivich and all of those.
It is normal.
Sir.
You should move on. We've moved on.
Okay.
I have even moved on to Karela.
Obama Yang caught over COVID-19 tattoo. Let's get on to other stories.
So the senior high school placement is actually out on Sunday. I'll come back and do a bit of a story in the Daily Graphic newspaper. But let's do the Ghanaian Publisher, front page of the Ghanaian Publisher. Justices have predetermined agenda, Mahama's lawyer alleges and accuses journalist of bias. Oforiatta's medical bills, not on government, according to his aide. I'm fair and firm in what I do. That's Esla Uswe-Kofo, the Minister Designate for Communication and Digitalization. Okay. State funding will stop monetization of Ghana politics. That's Dan Butcher also speaking as he appeared before the Verton Committee of Parliament. That's it for the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper by way of what's on the front page.
Well, from the Ghanaian Publisher, let's do the new Publisher. And it says, weed smoker caught bonking police chief's wife. You know, it reminds me of a story in the Times where a man was arrested for attempting to smuggle weed into the Yankafo prison. And Charlie, people get vimo. Hey.
But they need to the way they put the thing.
Charlie? I will. Let me leave it at that. If you want to get the details, grab a copy of that paper. John Mahama eyes 2024. Sexual assault robbery at SHS in Ashanti. Ghana Immigration Service gets new PRO for Greater Accra. And Jean swerves Chachu again. Won't go into the box. That's it.
Okay, let me bring you the Business and Financial Times front page. Transparency issues stain world-class COVID-19 tests regime at KIA. Aviation experts says and over $15 million raked in so far by operator. Lots of questions around this that even the policymakers cannot directly give answers to. Prioritize remaining $750 million debts, gets us cheaper gas. That's IPPs to government. And selecting nuclear energy vendor is top of my agenda. That's Energy Minister Designate there. And they picked this from his appearance before the Appointments Committee. Okay.
I'll wrap up with this one, going to the passage of time. The Daily Dispatch. Supreme Court throws out Mahama's request, but he files 2 new applications. That's the banner headline. That's it basically there. It also talks about, there's a bit of an infograph there. Ghana ethnic groups with population above 500,000. You can catch that on the front page and on the back page of the Daily Dispatch. A lot happened on January 7, 2021, and none of us can be proud of them. That is the Communications Minister Designate, Ursula Owusu-Ekofo. That's it for me.
Okay. We will now get into some details. This bit about the senior high school placement out on Sunday. They say this year's placements will be out, and this is according to the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. It would cover candidates both school and private who wrote the BECE in 2020, those who didn't get the calculators, as well as, no, not calculators, mathematical sets, isn't it? It was meant for them, Anna. I think so. As well as other entrants in all about 525,000 qualified BECE candidates will be seeking placement into 721 senior high technical and vocational schools of their choices, which have declared about 535,000 vacancies. Listen, there's COVID around. I do hope and pray that we won't see the excesses that we see every year with this placement and people assembling, because that's should be out of the game. So hopefully they've done a fantastic job and corrected the errors from previous years, and we can have a peaceful placement for once. Yeah.
Without all the wahala.
So if you have a child who's looking to getting placed, please be mindful or minded. The placement is out on Sunday. Look out for it.
Well, we've been talking about the security situation in the country and some of the robberies going on. This one on page 3 of the Ghanaian Times says commercial tricycle drivers, popularly known as Muhammad Kambu or Pragia, at Sandama in the Bosa North municipality of the Upper East region, have petitioned the assembly over the spate of armed robberies in the area. The drivers said they had become the target of armed robbers, compelling them to seek the support of the municipal assembly in ensuring their safety as they go about their commercial activities. And it's becoming dire, from tomato sellers to people in ambulances to everybody, basically. It's becoming quite a situation here. Hopefully the police, I know the police to civilian ratio is not what it ought to be, but hopefully we can make some strides in that regard. But I'll wrap up with this one from the Ghanaian Times. It's in the center spread. Marital pressures, COVID-19 complications, cause of police suicide. And the increasing suicide cases currently being recorded in the police service have been attributed to psychological effects, including post-COVID complications and marital pressures. Suicide notes recovered at the scenes of most of the incidents show that the triggering causes of the act were not work-related, but rather as a result of pressures from the home and also COVID-19 complications. How sure can they be about? Because if it's a stressful work situation, and our police, I mean, it is a stressful work situation. Yes, COVID-19 complications and all of that. But what stands out for me here, I've also read that some people recover from COVID or they get past the critical stage and it affects their thinking, their psychological, makeup and everything. And it appears in their case, at least per what the police service is telling us, that is a reality. Another reason you don't want to catch COVID. Another good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie.
But what kind of disease cry is this? It has so many.
Evil.
First of all, it's messing up all your organs and it leaves you with all kinds of. What kind of illness is this?
Somebody,
a disease from hell.
I think, was it something somebody outlined, shared what it actually does, at least what has been discovered so far, including what you talk about, the lungs thing, that, and then kidney as well. Some people actually go on dialysis.
Don't leave anything out. It affects everything.
Yeah, it's just, it's an evil disease. I think that's the perfect description for it. When the Most Reverend Palmer Buckle said it, that's what it is. We've heard other people, Professor Hesse also said it's an evil disease. It is evil. I mean, you recover from it, you are well, and the next minute, you're down again. Not COVID, but what it actually left you with. And it could even kill you sometimes. Let's use the remaining 1 minute or so to do myjournline.com, I think. Can we?
All right, so let's get to it. Mahama files 2 new applications following Supreme Court's dismissal of motion to reopen case. Looks like this is quite a tug of law, right?
You push, I pull. This one says, you cannot reopen your case. Supreme Court dismisses Mahama's application. Stalled KATH maternity and children's block to be pulled down. That's something we'll be getting into. Delay in paying contractors was due to impact of COVID-19. That's Roads Minister Designate Kwesi Amoakwata. Election petition, there's a predetermined agenda to rule against petitioner Dominic Ayine, saying that, and 13 more die of COVID-19, active cases now 7,850. As we wrap up, initiate response protocols for Ebola. GHS directs all hospitals. Vigilantism law will not work. Adam Bona saying so. And finally, 1,200 kilometers of asphalt overlays completed in 2020. Again, according to Amoako Ata. Well.
Yeah, one of the things we'll be doing on the show, as Spence did mention, the Komfo Teaching Hospital mother and baby unit, the maternity block, the over 45 years, 46, 47, and you would not be wrong. We're passionate about it because Seth Kwame Boateng first told the story of how children were dying and this block was just sitting there and nothing was happening to it. There was an intervention. Together with the First Lady, we were able to raise quite a lot of money. Save Them Now, remember? That was the fundraiser. And then there was a building that was put up, beautiful facility, mother and baby units at the Komfo Teaching Hospital. But this other project also needed to be completed because this one is way bigger. What do we hear now? They have to pull down that entire structure. And this will be the second time that we're doing that.
And you know, just to add this, one of the areas in our health sector or health system where we're lacking the most, it's pediatric or areas targeted at children. So this is particularly important because, I mean, what we are losing here is massive. I think here in Accra, I know the Princess Marie-Louise.
Charlie, it's not enough.
And a few, but and what the First Lady has been doing, but it is woefully inadequate.
Absolutely.
So when this happens, it's not just talk about, oh, another structure has gone down for 45 years. It's about the impact and what we are missing out.
Yeah. When you think about Komfo Anokye, don't think about Kumasi. Think about other regions as well. We'll bring you sports with Ulrika and Pofo. We have AM Business after sports. Stay with us. Hello there. It's another Wednesday. Welcome to AM Business, which is proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Now, today, we focus on Ghana's bilateral ties with Germany. Charles Aite had an interaction with the ambassador as they discussed bilateral trade between both countries, COVID-19 and immigration.
Ambassador, welcome to the program. So, would you know that it's been 60 years of bilateral ties between Ghana and Germany? Help us understand the highlights of these moments.
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all, for having me on this program here. It's exactly now 64 years since we have diplomatic relations with Ghana. Ghana has made tremendous progress over the last 30 years, especially. Ghana has become a stable democracy, has been becoming an anchor for stability in West Africa, and we are proud of a very substantial and close partnership and friendship between our two countries. Just to give you some examples, we had the German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier here on a state visit in Ghana in December 2017. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel was here in August 2018. President Akufo-Addo has already been 4 times in Germany since taking office 2017 in his first term. We have also broadened and deepened our economic relations, very important point for both countries. Volkswagen, the start of car assembling in Ghana mid last year is a very good example for this.
How is that faring?
It's doing very well. It's in the first phase, so they're producing, assembling cars here. I think the number they want to achieve here per year is about 5,000 to 6,000 vehicles assembled per year. But this is only supposed to be the first step, and it will go in a second and third step here. We have seen a lot of German global players, global companies coming to Ghana, opening their regional offices for West Africa. So this is very promising. We had the German-Africa Business Summit, the signature event of the German-Africa business community here in Accra in 2019 for the very first time in West Africa. Big step forward here. And of course, the third pillar of our cooperation is economic and development cooperation. We have a substantial portfolio in our development cooperation. It's about 130 million euros per year. That has been increased significantly over the last 4 years. So I would say relations are closer and better than they have ever been before.
That's great. But even as we talk about relations, we're having this discussion in an unusual time. COVID-19 has struck economies world over. In your stride as an ambassador to Ghana, what has been the contributions that Germany has made in curbing the spread of COVID in Ghana?
Yeah, COVID, of course, is a huge challenge for all countries in the world. We are literally all in this together. So the priority for all of us, also in our cooperation, is, of course, to help Ghana to cope with the pandemic and also to bring Ghana out of the economic and social challenges and perturbances with regard to COVID. We were able to put together a quite substantial COVID relief package for Ghana in spring last year, already in April and May, with a volume of about 25 million euros. We financed a COVID emergency unit at a regional hospital in Takoradi, for instance. We supported the Noguchi Institute. We sent PPEs to many ministries and organizations here. And we entered into a cooperation with Stanbic Bank here to give a credit line to small and medium-sized Ghanaian enterprises to secure the cash flow and safeguard 12,000 jobs in this country.
So with the partnership with Stanbic Bank, how did that go?
That did go very well. We concluded the agreement, I think in May or June last year already. This is a good example of these very effective public-private partnerships here. Very promising avenue to follow. And of course, now we are entering a new important phase in our fight against COVID. Just yesterday, we got the news that the global alliance, Gavi, the vaccination alliance, Gavi, and COVAX under the UN auspices is delivering the first 340 million doses of COVID vaccines to developing countries. And if I'm correctly informed, we will see the first 2.4 million COVID doses going also to Ghana in the next couple of weeks and months. And we would be happy to support Ghana, for instance, with the logistics and this. Germany is one of the most important supporters of this Gavi vaccination alliance. We contributed more than 600 million euros to that. The European Union as a whole is also a very important supporter. So this is very important and good progress, I think.
But still on COVID-19, in 2020, you said that Ghana's approach in curbing the virus is commendable. Do you still stand by this approach when we're having cases spiking?
I would say it's a challenge in every country right now. Most countries in the world are now dealing with the second or third wave of COVID. It's the same in my country, in Germany. The pandemic has proven to be less predictable than we thought. A lot of countries thought in the summer that the worst could have been over. We had to learn otherwise, and all countries are struggling to cope. I think the government has really done a very good job fighting the pandemic here so far. What is important now is each and every citizen here in Ghana sticks to the precautions, wear your mask, keep your distance, wash your hands, work from home if it's possible. So these are the essential things to keep the COVID under control.
We started this year with the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. I mean, we're looking at $3.5 trillion in value annually, but we have always been telling the story of African, member states being part of this. We haven't necessarily told the story of, foreign, establishments like Germany. What remains your contribution to the single market?
Now, first of all, the single market, the African Free Trade Continental Area is, of course, a huge, big chance for Ghana and all the other African countries here. We have seen that in Europe when we created the single market in Europe and the European Union. It has been a big, big boost for our economic development in the whole of Europe. We see the same chances for the African continent. Of course, it's a long way to go. Now we are entering the phase of implementation of the ACFTA agreement. There are some considerable technical challenges in this process. And we, from the German side, we are happy that we are already in a kind of support cooperation with ACFTA in Addis Ababa via GIZ, and we are planning to do the same here in Ghana by offering our technical support to the ACFTA Secretariat here in Ghana.
All right, but when you say technical challenges, what exactly do you mean?
These are standards and measurements and export control, technical questions more or less. We are offering, as I said, support in Addis. We are offering already support here to the Ghanaian government, to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and we are eager to work together with the Secretariat here in Accra. A huge chance for Ghana, and I'm very optimistic about it.
But what do you stand to gain out of this cooperation?
I think it's in all our interest that the economy in Africa booms. Africa is our neighbor continent, the closest continent to Europe. And the economic and social development in Africa is, of course, one of our key priorities.
Ambassador, we have started this year once again. I want you to help us understand your key priorities for 2021.
First of all, priority number one is, as I said, support Ghana in the fight against COVID, overcoming the challenges, the medical challenges with COVID, with the delivery of vaccines here. We will support via our international Gavi and COVAX initiatives. And then it's of course important to support Ghana and Ghanaian businesses in overcoming the economic and social challenges.
And how do you do that?
We know the pandemic has been a challenge for many ordinary people in this country here. We do it, for instance, by agreeing credit lines, as we did with the Stanbic banks, you know, that they can support small and medium-sized Ghanaian companies so they can keep their workers, you know, and don't set them free. This is very important, and then of course we will continue our very substantial development cooperation here. In the pillars renewable energy. This is a very important pillar. We might later come to the details of this. And then, of course, also with regard to sustainable economic development. And the third pillar of our economic and development cooperation is good governance. First of all, good financial governance. That means tax revenues and things like that.
So how do you box it all in when it comes to financial commitment?
It's a commitment of about, as I said, 130 million euros a year we are having here in Ghana for the moment.
We do know once again that COVID-19 has ravaged economies and various countries are taking aggressive steps to contain the virus. We're talking of temporary travel bans, of which Africa has been victim to. What's the case of Germany and Ghana? Has anything changed? Something new?
Yes, the situation is a moving target, so to say. Just a couple of days ago, we have stopped all travel from so-called high-risk countries around the world. High-risk countries, I think we have 7 right now. Among them are, for instance, South Africa because of the mutation, Brazil, but also countries like Portugal, Ireland, and the United Kingdom. Ghana is not among these countries so far. But having said that, I must add that normal tourist visa, Schengen visa for Europe, the European Union or Germany are not issued at the moment. So tourist travel and non-essential travel to Germany for the moment is not possible. The only circumstances when you can travel to Germany right now is when you have a medical emergency, when you're studying in Germany and the trip and your presence in Germany is indispensable, or if you have very close family links to Germany. Unfortunately, that's the situation right now, like in most other European countries too.
You cited South Africa, the new variants there. We have discovered similar thing here in Ghana. Could that change your directive moving forward?
It could change. I can't give you a prognosis on that, but we are following the numbers very closely, and we update our capital on a weekly basis. So this might change, but I can't predict at the moment.
Now, let's talk about your outfit being heavy on renewable energy, because recently we do know that you committed about 10 million euros in terms of grants for the Reform and Investment Partnership. So first of all, walk us through the Reform and Investment Partnership, that we now delve deeper into the ambit of this agreement.
Yeah, the Reform and Investment Partnership is an agreement that was signed when our federal German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, was here on a state visit in December 2017. It's a very exciting project. We only have this Reform and Investment Partnership with 5 other African countries at the moment. So this shows you that Ghana is really a key partner for Germany on the African continent. And it's about supporting reform, economic reform in Ghana, and bringing German and European investment to Ghana. Because we hold the opinion, looking at development cooperation, that development cooperation over the last decades has always been important and will remain important. But it has never been the game changer for countries like Ghana to really stand on economically sound own footing. So the magic formula for further development, for economic development in this country, like in many other African countries, for me is bring private investment, private capital here to Ghana, use this investment, this capital, to create jobs and give a perspective for young people. I mean, Ghana is a potentially very rich country, I don't have to tell you, with all the raw materials, the natural resources, you know, you have a lot of potential in agriculture. So this country, if it goes through the ambitious transformation and modernization agenda, you know, will be successful. I have no doubt about it. And we would like to support Ghana on this way.
What reforms do you think must be applied, even as you go on this tangent, to ensure the success of what you're talking about?
I think it's exactly what the government is proposing, and the agenda the government is following with, for instance, Ghana Beyond 8. What the economy in Ghana needs is a modernization and transformation. A transformation from being just an exporter of natural resources to a modern economy that is creating value here in Ghana and sharing this value with its people. This is the way forward, and I think we see good progress. Volkswagen starting car assembling is a very good example of how you bring global players here, you create jobs here, you do the value creating here in Ghana.
I'm very interested in the Volkswagen, because we're also hearing news about vehicles going electric by 2035. We're talking of GW in that nature. Are we expecting the same from Volkswagen soon?
I can't tell you. This we would have to discuss with the Volkswagen CEO and his colleagues. But I think there's a lot of potential also in West Africa. And I mean, this is the exciting story about Ghana also with ACFTA. Ghana is ideally located to be a hub for not only German but international European companies coming to West Africa. I mean, you have better infrastructure than most countries here in West Africa. English language is for most Europeans, including Germans, easier than French language, you know. So we see these trends. I mentioned at the beginning that more and more German companies are opening their regional offices here in Ghana, and this is a huge, huge potential, and we should continue to work on that.
Let's now dwell on the 10 million euro grant. Yeah. What does it entail?
This is only one example. I think on renewable energy we spent more than 100 million euros here in loans and grants over the last 4 years here in Ghana. We do this because we see a lot of potential, of course, in renewable energy. Solar energy is obvious here in Ghana. Wind energy is the second, but also things like hydrogen. Hydrogen is considered in Germany and many other countries as the energy source of the 21st century. You can produce so-called green hydrogen from solar and wind, and then you transport it as a kind of LNG, liquefied natural gas, with ships to Europe. You know, there's a big potential in this cooperation, and Germany is one of the global leaders in this hydrogen cooperation, and we are exploring partnerships with African countries, and Ghana is certainly very well situated to be a potential partner in this cooperation.
But of course, with this corporation, what has been the turnover in the span of the past 4 years?
To give you an example, very concrete, about 1 year ago, I went to the Upper West region and I had the honor to be with President Akufo-Addo at the sod cutting of the biggest public solar power plant here in Ghana, close to Wa, the Lavra Kaleo solar plant, with a performance of more than 30 megawatts, financed from the German government via our development bank KfW with more than 25 million euros. So this is looking very good, and we will certainly very soon start a project, and this will bring electricity for more than 30,000 people in the Upper West region here. As I said, the biggest public solar power plant here in Ghana. And I think that's a very good example of what we can do here. Another initiative, we are supporting the Ghanaian government Go Solar, or Ghana Go Solar program here, and part of the 10 million grant you mentioned will go into this initiative.
Ambassador, we're grateful that you joined us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's it for AM Business this week, which is proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African bank. Make a date next week for another package. Stay with us. When we come back, we're talking the election petition 2020. We've got an update right here on the show. Petition update. Yesterday, the 7-member panel hearing the election petition 2020 ruled on an application by the petitioner. And again, it was a unanimous decision. They dismissed the petitioner's application again. Well, we've got Martin Pebble. He's a lawyer. He's joining us with some understanding. Mr. Pebble, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time here on the AM show.
Good morning. I'm happy. Morning.
Great. The last time you joined us with Samson, we discussed this matter, and I must say that the understanding you brought really was what was reiterated in the court yesterday. You talked about necessity, you talked about what more it could do to the case, and if you look at the reasoning the court gave for its ruling, they were all in there. So thank you very much for helping us understand what is usually very complicated for those of us who are not lawyers.
Okay, great. You're welcome.
Okay. So to reopen the case, we know that the court says no. What do you make of the decision?
Well, so let's put it this way. Going by law, those principles, yes, it's a sound decision, okay? But it's also the case that using the same set of facts, a different judge or a different set of judges with different orientations would have come to a different conclusion. That is to say, would have granted the reopening of the case and for the subpoena to issue. So you say, you will hear Justice Eni Yebua say, it's a question of their discretion. Discretion. So looking at all the factors at play, when the judges analyzed it, they came to a conclusion of not granted. But as I said, another set of judges would have equally come to, or let's say would have come to a conclusion of let's grant. Because you see, what has happened is quite novel in Ghana, with such a big case, with so much at stake. I mean, no lawyer would have likely imagined that Mr. Jim Mensah would have done the U-turn. No. Every day we go to court. I'm on my way to court right now. So you look at how we practice. This huge case is not the kind of case that you think the EC would suddenly change its mind and say they are not coming to the box. So if you look at all the circumstances, you cannot blame Mr. Chikata for not earlier on requesting for a subpoena to issue. Because there was every indication JM, the female, was coming to the box. They say, yeah. And so, looking at, as I said, it all depends on the guy. So you hear, when you go to law school, that's what they teach called jurisprudence. Let's just use the simple words, meaning the philosophy, the mind of the judge. There are some judges, they say, look, the law is A, and so it's A, there's nothing more. Another judge will look at it and look at how Mr. Chikata was wrong-footed and say, look, no, it's not Mr. Chikata's fault, and the whole of the Ghanaian populace, even including the victims themselves, would wish Mrs. Jimensa to come and speak, so that from the victor's side, they would even want to hear her speak, so that she would just put everything to rest once and for all, so that there will be no doubt. And truly, I mean, if you're going on that tangent, I really wonder what Mrs. Jimensa was coming to say that could change the results. There wasn't going to be a change as such. So looking at that side, and don't forget, judges live in the society. So it's also part of law, the legal philosophy, the teaching. So looking at all these things, and that's also law. So considering the realities of the society. So you hear in sociological jurisprudence, they say, look, I look at the realities. So you hear the realities, that's a school of thought and all that. And so the law allows that, let Mrs. Jimensa come. So there are so many different philosophies. Then, as I've already said, the positivists, or the law says that is it. I'm not adding anything. You say.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court moves from one philosophy to another depending on the facts. They say, yes, there are cases where they themselves will look at it. There are cases where they themselves, the parties have come to court, okay, and then there is something missing. The Supreme Court itself will say, look, okay, bring this person to testify. So the court itself has this occasion to act surveyor. There was this land dispute. The parties weren't getting it right. A previous surveyor who did the survey in the lower courts misled the court. So the Supreme Court, Justice Goche, leading the panel, made an order for a new surveyor in Kumasi to go survey the land again. And when it came, it showed that the land belonged to the other party, not the one who had won in the Court of Appeal. You see, there are a number of...
So Mr. Pebble, this, what you've just cited, was it the judge's own discretion getting a second opinion?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you, does this mean, can we interpret the decision to mean that the bench doesn't need any assistance from Madam Jean Mensah in determining the issues that they've tabled?
No, that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that when there is a doubt, okay?
No, Mr. Pebble, this is a general question that I'm asking you based on where we are in this case.
Yes, you are right to a certain extent, meaning that in this case, they don't think this is one that they should come out and help. Yes, to that extent, you are right.
Okay. The petitioner is going for a review of not yesterday's ruling, but that of the 11th of February, which the court said you couldn't, in simple words, force a party to adduce evidence. You couldn't get them to put their witness if they didn't wish to do it themselves. And we're not talking about the substance itself, but we're talking generally about review. This will be the second time in this petition that the petitioner will be going for a review. It's a small window, isn't it? Can you explain what you have to demonstrate to the court to convince them to overturn a decision that they've made? This was a unanimous decision, remember?
Yes, like you said, an extremely small window. Yeah, so basically for every review, you would be saying that there was a miscarriage of justice, exceptional circumstances, okay, leading to a miscarriage of justice, and then some evidence that was not readily available, which is now available and would help the court to come to a different conclusion. You say, and that evidence, you did your best, but it just wasn't available. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Yes. So those are the grounds. So when you're going for review, when you hear the phrase exceptional circumstances, exceptional, leading to a miscarriage of justice, so that justice wasn't served in the case. So that is what the petitioner will be doing. That's the hurdle he'll be crossing. And it's an extremely high bar. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, sure.
You know, in all of this, we are developing, or let's say we are pushing the frontiers of the law. So let Mr. Chikata go, and then we'll see how it goes.
It gets a bit complicated. At one point, that issue of you can't force a party to adduce evidence coincides with this recent one in terms of the subpoena. And I remember, I think the last time we had a conversation, I raised this. It was clear yesterday. I don't know if you got the same impression that the two are linked, aren't they?
No, you see, it's difficult. This particular case, the ruling, let me tell you, as I stated, to understand it, just know that, look, and that is the plain truth, that it depends on the person who has the power to say so, or who says so. The same rules, a different judge with a different orientation will come to a different conclusion. So you see why we would always say that two lawyers don't agree. You give a text, one text to two lawyers, they come to different conclusions. That is what is at play. Let's not try to force it. This is how the judges saw it. But trust me, a different set with a different orientation would come to a different conclusion. So it's just, that's how it is. It's not one straight answer. Because look, the difference is this. When you say a party, so a party has been sued or has sued in a court of law. If it thinks he doesn't have enough knowledge to mount the box, even though he's plaintiff, he's not obliged to enter the box. He will go and bring experts. So you see the case of the AMA versus Hydrophone, which was cited in Supreme Court decision 2013-2014. It was a land matter. So they saw they didn't have enough knowledge. They depended on surveyors and valuers who had special skills. They say, so even though plaintiff took the case to court, he saw that he's not a surveyor, he's not a valuer. So he depended on those people to make the case for him. And the cases date from way back. Nyamiche versus Sanders in 1989, and then before that in the 60s. So it's always been that you can't force the party. Okay? When he has to make his own case. But if the party happens to be wearing different hats, he also has some information other party needs from him. And in this case, don't forget, everyone makes it easier for the petitioner is that Mrs. J. Mensah is a public officer. That's one. And then two, she is not the party. The party in the case is the EC. And everybody knows that, I mean, it's very unlikely that petitioner set out to prosecute this case without intending to call Mrs. J. Mensah to testify. I mean, from the very nature of the petition, Mrs. J. Mensah is a critical witness. I mean, let's credit the petitioner's lawyers with some intelligence. At least, let's give them some credit that they know what they do. And Mr. Chikata has been okay, so that Mrs. J. Mensah, they showed clearly from the word go that they would build the case around her evidence, her testimony.
Yeah, but
okay.
as you mentioned the last time we had a conversation, I guess the lessons have been learned. So next time, put all the witnesses, name them in your petition. I guess is that the direction?
That's excellent. Excellent. You're perfectly. So it's a lesson to all of us practicing lawyers. A very bitter lesson, especially for Mr. Chikata. Yeah, so to land on that point, so the point is that as for the subpoena, you can subpoena any other person once you need the person. You see, what has made it difficult at this stage is because he didn't ask to issue the subpoena early whilst he was on his case. It's because he closed the door when he announced that I have closed my case, or the petitioner has closed.
Hello, Mr. Pebble. We're losing you there. Okay, we're going to, so Mr. Pebble is joining us via Zoom. If we can just make a quick phone call, we'll finish this through. There's one more issue that I want to raise with him. Two applications the petitioner filed. One is the review of the court's 11th February decision, but another one is stay of proceedings. Meanwhile, this issue has been tabled for tomorrow, Thursday. The court would hear the review application. Mr. Pebble, are you with me? Can you hear me, please? Hello, Mr. Pebble.
Yes.
Okay, so I just lost you at the tail end of, that statement that you were making.
Yes. So I was making the point that looking at it, yes, before I learned a very clear lesson from this case, that a witness, a very critical witness, that they can do a U-turn to wrongful view, okay? But as for the part to see, it usually there's, when you haven't closed your case, there is a lot of latitude. So petitioner could have easily gotten it before the case was closed, before he closed his case. But as he stated, because Mrs. Jimensa had filed a witness statement, every average lawyer would have received that was coming, even coupled with the affidavit for during the application, the first application, that those questions can be asked in cross-examination. The average lawyer would have assumed that yes, it was coming. Okay, so let's not be petitioner and his lawyer too much for not issuing the subpoena at that time.
Okay, sure. Yes. I wanted to ask about the second application that's been filed, the stay of proceedings. Of what use is that now, especially when the court will be hearing that review application tomorrow?
What it does, yes, that's a very good question, especially as we know that now the Supreme Court has made it very clear that when an application for stay of proceedings, it doesn't mean the proceedings are stayed until the court has given the green light. So at this stage, let's just say that, so he's requesting that the court should not expect him, or the court should not require him to file the addresses. So, so this is the main reason. Last week, the court made an order that all the parties should file their addresses by today, right?
Yes.
And then tomorrow, 18th, the court was going to listen to the lawyers on the highlights of their addresses. So the application for stay of execution, that leg, is to say that the court should dispense with the requirement, or the court should relax the order on the filing of the addresses, and also tomorrow the highlights should not come on. So this is a request. It's not been granted yet. So in the meantime, it means that petitioner has to file the addresses today. He has to file his address today. Even complete, it must be filed. You remember the last time when this thing came up, when the similar application for stay of proceedings
with the witness
filed?
statements?
Yes. So it means that even if it's incomplete, it must be filed, and then they would then be able to convince the judges subsequently when they are moving the application. At least we put in what we could. But because we're preparing for the other application, maybe we can finish it up. So they will pray my lords to grant them an extension. Yes, that way it will be more specific, because the court has already indicated clearly that if you file an application for stay of proceedings, it doesn't mean automatically it's been granted.
Yeah.
Go ahead and what you've been ordered to do. And then when the application comes on, the court will decide.
It's going to be a very busy day in courts tomorrow, Mr. Pebu. We have the stay of proceedings. We also have the review. By way of practice, what would come first?
Yeah, so what they will tell you that they are not bound to, number one, file the, listen, or hear the one that was filed in time, time. Usually they will look at issues of economy, efficiency, and all that, and then decide which one. So look at it. Ordinarily, you think that the application for stay of proceedings, that was filed earlier in time, right? And then the review was subsequent. Am I right?
Well, so. I got both at the same time. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the time on both applications.
Yes, so even practically, because the application for stay of I think it came earlier in time. Yes, but practically, even because the same day, it won't make much of a difference. Yes, because both will be taken on the same day so that we move on.
Okay, yes. So what is interesting, the stay has 1:20 p.m. on it, so which means it came second, I think, and the review has got 11:10 a.m. on it. That's interesting.
Then you are right.
Or it doesn't matter, the time for filing.
No, it's not conclusive.
Okay.
Usually if you start, it matters to some extent, but it's not conclusive. So this is what will happen. The course is going to start at 10 a.m.
9:30.
So, 9:30, okay, thank you. So they start at 9:30, but you said the review has 10 o'clock endorsed on it.
Excuse me? Mr. Pebu?
Yes.
Yeah, you were asking?
Yes, the review has 10 o'clock endorsed on it. Is that not what?
In terms of the time for filing, the review has 11:10 a.m.
Oh, 11:10, that was the time it was filed. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what will happen. So, because the court will start at 9:30, if they take the review first, and naturally, from the way it goes, they can finish that earlier. And so if they finish, let's say, by 11 o'clock, they don't have to wait this is subsequently before they deal with the stay. As I said, this particular one, the Supreme Court has said we should not hold judges strictly by the manner in which applications are filed.
Okay.
The court itself will look at which one they consider to be necessary to discuss. Yes, there are Supreme Court decisions on that. There used to be some rules that lawyers use. Oh, I filed mine first. Or he would say, if we deal with this one first, it takes care of the other one. They say, no, leave it to the court.
Okay.
They will look at the case and they will determine which one to hear first.
Okay.
So, tomorrow, I think, see.
Mr. Pebu, we'll need your intervention a lot tomorrow, so we'll be coming to you again. Hopefully you won't be in court yourself and you can help us understand the processes.
Very well. Okay. I think I'll be in court as usual because we have to earn bread and butter.
Okay, Mr. Pebu, I thank you for your time. I wish you the very best today.
You're welcome.
All right. Martin Pebu is a lawyer helping us understand the processes in this particular election petition, what happened yesterday, and what is to come tomorrow, God willing. Our election petition update, as always, is in association with Petrosol, also DBS Roofing and Koa Mixture. We've got two very
Start Started in 1976 by the IKA Champions National Redemption Council, this magnificent edifice was part of plans to expand the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. The old maternity block, it has been called, was estimated to hold a 1,000-bed medical center capable of soaking a major part of Komfanochi's congestion challenges. Now, this is the second time we are going to see a demolition of this building due to structural integrity challenges. Now, we've been told that currently, per the assessment of various engineers, the structure cannot hold when fully completed with equipment, staff, and patients due to one weak concrete structure and some rusting iron rods in there. Now, this assessment by the experts have been presented to the cabinet of the government, and they have agreed that this structure should be pulled down. Now, no timelines has been given yet as to when it will be pulled down, but it has been confirmed that it needs to be pulled down and reconstructed starting from the ground. Now, I'm saying this is the second time it's going to be pulled down because in 1999, under the administration of the first president of the Fourth Republic, Jerry John Rawlings, the administration had to pull down the earlier structure due to its weak infrastructural integrity. But again, work has stalled, and today we come back to the same problem. Parliament in 2019 approved a loan of 155 million euros from the Dutch bank to complete and equip the block for use within 36 months. In May last year, President Akufo-Addo cut short for the completion of the project. But government sources say Cabinet has rather approved the demolition of the entire structure to start reconstruction from the scratch due to structural integrity challenges. Experts say after an assessment, the building was found to be weak. If the demolition goes through, it will be the second time after it was pulled down in 1999 for the same reason at another stage of completion. On the streets of Kumasi, there are mixed reactions to the development.
Sometimes, or most of the times, it is better to totally demolish, pull down, and build from ground, which comes in cheaper, far, far cheaper than keeping the existing and trying to make extensions and adapt those old buildings. So first of all, because of what it was for, the integrity, you may be using different strengths of concrete, different strengths of piling because it's a high-rise building. So maybe and if you have different strength of piling, that can cause problems. In order to reinforce one piling to ensure that they are the same strength, you may, it will involve a lot of cost, and it is easier to do it all over again, making sure that all the piles you're doing are of the same strength.
I think if that's what they have decided to do, it will be a waste of money and waste of resources as well, because you can't just decide to pull everything down just like that. What they could have done was maybe to make things, like put things together. If they could have maybe, I don't know what word to use, that.
Strengthen the structure.
Yes, if they could have done that, I think it would be better, rather than pulling everything down and starting all over. That would be a waste of money, a waste of everybody's time. Maybe, who knows, it could be that somebody else would want to put some money in their pocket.
Oh God, what do I make of this? Let's have a conversation. Erastus Asari Donko will be joining us. Seth Kwame Boateng told the first story that got all of us to Kumasi, to Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. The fundraiser then happened, and then we got a fresh baby unit courtesy the First Lady's Foundation, and of course herself. Seth Kwame Boateng, good morning.
Mama, good morning.
Oh, Seth, so this is where we are. Do I have, is Erastus with us as well? Hello, Erastus, if you can hear me. Okay, but I also do have Engineer Maham Abdullahi, who's a road and building consultant, also joining us. I don't have Erastus here yet, but I have Kwame and then Engineer Maham Abdullahi. Good morning to you, Engineer Abdullahi, if you can also hear me.
Yeah, good morning, I can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, let me start with Kwame. Kwame, how are you taking this news of this structure, 47-year-old structure being pulled down? Yes, hi, Kwame. I was trying to get a reaction from you. Okay, Kwame can't quite hear me, so let me speak to our professional who's joining us with some understanding. How should we, Engineer Maham Abdullahi, how should we be interpreting this news that we're getting from the people who spoke in Kumasi to my colleague Erastus? There are some people even implying that maybe somebody wants to put money in their pocket or something like that. We just don't trust the system. So how should we be interpreting this news?
Well, good morning to your viewers. I think to us the professionals, the news is coming timely because we are talking about a 47-year-old structure which has been abandoned and has gone under the mercy of the weather for all these years. Even concrete which have been protected after some years of their lifespan, they go through some of these defects, the cycling. How much more a structure, a frame, which has been left for 47 years, in excess of 45 years, exposed to the mercy of the weather on its own without the adequate protection. So to us as engineers, it is only a welcoming news. However unfortunate the cost that has been incurred already in the structure, the framework standing on its own.
Are we paying more for a fresh building, another facility? Because, you know, Erastus talks about the fact that this is the second time that the structure will be pulled down. We've already put in a lot. Is it more money again?
Well, what I read from the story that was posted is that it has gone through one of the structural integrity analysis or assessment. Now you are talking about two major highly recognized institutions in Ghana, in AESL, who were the consultant of the Flagstaff House, Jubilee House construction. You are talking about AESL who oversaw to the construction or the renovation of the Accra Sports Stadium. So it's not by means any small company. And then a revision was also done by the Ghana Institution of Engineers. That's the whole body in Ghana that sanctions all construction code in the country. So the process, I will not say that it is as a result of the fact that somebody want to put some money in his pocket. I think the best decision per the report I've read so far is what has been arrived at. Now, you're looking at people doing a structural integrity analysis. Now, if it was done some years ago and the building was not completed, as in 1999, you have also left the building standing and deteriorating again. Because if that assessment was done in that year and then the work was completed, obviously we would have gotten to the stage where we are. Because day in and out, as we experience seasonal changes, rainfall, weather, and everything, even the ground itself might be undermined because adjoining lands would also awash their fluid around. There are a lot of movement of structures along the area and a lot of things. So for AESL to do the first investigation and then Ghana Highways or Ghana Institute of Engineers coming in to also do a revised option, and then other professional entities coming. It's just a process. You know, that's why we don't have definitive when it comes to engineering. That's why in any design that we do, we have what we call the factor of safety. So I think in the best interest of the country, pulling the structure off has engineering background, and that I think is the best.
Okay, let me go.
Secondly, all right, so you.
No, you finish, please.
Yeah, and what I read, the recommendations, i.e., leaving the structure to be and then enforcing or reinforcing them, would have to be done so technical. There are things that most of the guys may not have even done before, where they have to be doing pinning of the floors, reintroducing columns, beams, reducing some of the areas by adding, and then reducing the space. So if we are talking about an 800 proposed bed facility, and we're going to reduce some of the clearance, if I say the clearance, that's the height of the building from floor to floor, and then introducing columns at some corners, movement of equipment and rushing patients through would be hindered. And looking at the report that I read, I think the best decision has been arrived at. However, it is only important that when government or the institution or the client agrees that this building should be pulled down, we should not sit down and oversee to another abandoned project as the construction starts. Because that will be one time too many of needless monies going down the drain without proper supervision or proper priority to the construction of such a facility.
Great. So, Kwame Boateng, when you told the story of Next to Die, and I think I'm right in saying one was to critically put the spotlight on the babies that were dying, but also to remind us of a structure that had been sitting there for many years. One of the issues, I think in your report, I remember, was the fact that the building had been there for so long, and these issues coming up now was also a fear then. I just want to take your reaction on the back of this news that this building is going to be pulled down.
Mama V, I got very sad, extremely sad when I heard the news. And it came in as a rumor, so I made calls and I got confirmation that it was true. And I was like, really? After all these years, we are going to bring this with no technical eye. A building, I would say, is so solid. Are we going to pull this down? What is wrong? What can we do? Can't we find an alternative? Can't we do some readjustments? Can't we reinforce the building? I asked so many questions. And so I had the chance to read the report from AESL, from the Institute of Engineers. And I'm like, well, if they have the technical eye, they know what they are saying. If they are saying if we continue or government continues with the reactivation of work and the load they bring in become unbearable and it will collapse. Well, but I'm sad, not only about the millions that we have pumped into this building, but also the delay. Because I remember when the president went to confirmatory last year, May, to cut short for reactivation of work. We were told in 3 years we were going to finish this structure so that it becomes operational and it was going to ease the congestion I reported on years ago. Even though what we did as multimedia, we did with the First Lady, has in a way helped ease congestion at the hospital, it's not enough. So we were all hoping that in 3 years they will finish and patients will move in and the congestion would ease. Just only for this news to come in. And I was really shocked. And I was like, so how are you going to explain this to Ghanaians? How are we going to accept this? And Mama, it's also as it were put the spotlight on what the engineer said a while ago.
Yeah. Erastus also...
We are really going to pull this down, demolish this.
Erastus also joined...
What? And that is my fear.
Okay.
Even though I told that we have money already, I'm so afraid.
Let me say good morning to Erastus because he's also joined us. Erastus, you are there. Is there money available to finish the projects if they pull this down?
I wish I knew the answer to that. Currently, I don't have the answer to that. And I wish it's not to the contrary, because we cannot afford another abandoned project. I think that it's shameful that as a country, we should allow such an edifice to go down 20 years. And we've done a series of reports on this thing, drawing the attention of successive governments to this, and it all fell on deaf ears. There was no commitment from all stakeholders to try to get this done for Ashanti region, Kumasi and beyond. Mind you, this is serving about, Konfo is serving about 12 regions. People from all walks of life come to this facility. And so it's shameful that we could not add seriousness and urgency to this matter, and we have to wait and allow such an edifice, you see, as it stands, so majestic, so magnificent, to waste away in this manner.
Erastus, let's go back a little bit. After we did our reports and after we all came to Kumasi, we came to do morning shows there. We had people who sadly have had loved ones, you know, their babies pass, unfortunately, just to bring attention to the issue. Afterwards, there was some work that went on, correct?
Yes, you see, there's been ongoing works. It's not like it's totally silent. They've been working, and though it's bits and pieces, we had the contractor being on site, an engineer on site, and so occasionally they did some works. So I'm even surprised that we are now saying that we've now done the necessary assessments to know that the building is weak, because there's an engineer on site. They've been there for a very long time, as much as I can remember. And so you ask yourself, many of the works that have been done, some of them are new, especially to the top there. And so at what point did we get to know that the structure is weak?
Let me put that to our professional. Engineer Mahama, how does this happen when we know that there were some works ongoing and then suddenly the news of the project being pulled down comes in? Hello, Engineer Mahama, if you can hear me. Okay, I'm not sure he can quite hear me. Yes,
I'm here.
I can hear you now. I was just asking, help us understand. They were working, and then suddenly they have to pull down the structure?
Yes, you know, it's just like what happened some years ago in Accra. I don't want to remind people of the sad event that happened around the Melcombe disaster. You have loads being experienced. As works in the report, you say that as works are ongoing, and then human activities and dead loads are added to the various floors. Now the structure begins to experience the additional weight that is coming on. So such signals will be communicated to the professionals. You start to see cracks developing diagonally or horizontally, and that would send a warning to the professional that, hey, I think we need to revisit the issue and do more extensive investigation. That prompted the third and fourth one, I believe. So it's only proper. Like I said in the initial stage, that we don't do designs infinitive. That's why at every point in time, you know there are other things that are factors. And so in your design, you always add the factor of safety from like 1.5 to 2 or 3, depending on how sensitive that job is. So I still think that, however sad the issue is, I stand by the decision based on science and engineering.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
That it will happen that way. And then I don't know whether you're talking about the size, which has been reduced now to the 500 bed capacity. That is also a challenge. That I had a lot of people commenting about that. The frame there, the frame structure is, let's say, about 45% of the cost of the work assumption. And if that is that 45% is what you see as the skeletal frame. If you add the finishes, the i.e. the other outstanding works, and then coming with the equipment, that would have equal the cost of the project. Now, if you are bringing this thing down, first and foremost, you're going to bring this huge edifice down. It's going to occupy a bigger space. There's a lot of technology going to go into getting this thing down so that you do not pollute the environment, because you are dealing with highly sophisticated machines or equipment at the hospital, and the lives of people who are already at the facility to visit, and then make sure that they get their health conditions well. So the demolition is going to be so technical. You're going to create a lot of volume of debris to go and spoil. And so therefore, it's only proper that when these are all done and all the debris is taken away from the site, it would have reduced the capacity.
Okay.
But my proposal is that it's always better that the 500 is done, having in mind that in the report that there's a likelihood of the extension of the project. So any design that is being done now have to factor that in the event that government want to do the extension to get about 300 more beds, that could be done without actually affecting the movement. And secondly, they spoke about the fact that when that is completed, they are anticipating that there will be an impact on traffic. I only suggest that impact assessment should be done now and now, so that it may lead to other demolition of houses or facilities that will ease movement of vehicles and other things to the facility. So we don't want to truncate the process as we are ongoing. So all those things, as they are demolishing now, all those things should be done once and for all, so that we know what is going to go into consideration or going to increase the cost or decrease the cost of the construction of the project. Thank you very much.
Fantastic suggestions there. Thank you very much as well. Erastus, please follow the money for us. We want to understand what would happen. Do they have the ready money to start a new project and finish it? I guess that's what we're interested in going forward. Hello?
Amadi, are you there?
Yes, I am here, Seth. Yes.
Okay, so based on the statement that they released, it's not the case that they are going for new money. You know that grants or the loan they went for to help finish the project, that is what they are going to use to do this new one. The statement and that they issued. And I can read that to you.
Yeah,
it
but
says
so
that to the need for utilize funds already secured to build a mother and child facility of about 500 beds and about 25,000 square meters gross floor area. This, together with other ongoing hospital projects in the northern sector of the country, may address the high mother and infant mortality. The new building would be on the same site as the existing site and designed to be capable of being upgraded to an 800 capacity facility. The old existing structure would have to be completely demolished to make room for the new building. Should the need for increasing the facility to 800 beds arise, a second phase requiring 42 million euros will be separately procured for that purpose. Meaning the old money they went for, that they were going to use to finish the project, is what they are going to do this new one. But I'm only hoping and saying that it will be enough to complete it.
Okay, so that was my fear too, because we were going to use that to finish a project that was started. Now we have to start from scratch. We've been here before, haven't we? Bassett Kwame Boateng, thank you very much. Erastus, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Erastus, we need you to follow closely because we're all interested.
Yeah, and I think one last point to make, I've heard people talk about it. I think it's something that should be considered. You see, the hospital is surrounded by the military barracks, the old barracks, and it's quite a large piece of land that the hospital really needs. I think this presents an opportunity, just like the engineer said, if they're going to pull this down, certainly it will affect some of the structures close to it. Can we take this as an opportunity to relocate the barracks and expand the hospital to fill that space? That will help all of us, especially across Ghana.
Okay, Erastus, thank you very much. Thank you, Seth Kwame Boateng. Thank you, Engineer Mahama. From one conversation to the other. This is an investigative piece that Kwetenate did for us, and it explains the situation at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, COVID-19 patients sharing the same ward with other patients who are not necessarily COVID patients. Here's his report.
Hospital records show that on the 8th of February 2021, doctors were treating a patient suspected to have contracted COVID-19. The patient was also showing symptoms of fever, difficulty in breathing, and coughing. Clinical notes on another patient with suspected case on admission also read, and I quote, SARS-CoV-2 test to be done. Focal person contacted. He reports they have run out of logistics currently to restock as they take samples as soon as possible. End quote. Another patient with similar COVID-19 symptoms was also admitted into the ward on the 9th of February 2021. On the 5th of February 2021, another patient with symptoms such as severe anemia and pneumonia was also admitted in the same ward. Some staff of the maternity block who spoke to Joy News under condition of anonymity said the patients were on oxygen when they were brought in.
Well, some came in on oxygen, but now they're a bit better. Oxygen has been discontinued. So currently, their conditions are not so bad that we say, oh, for this patient you're going to use hair. No. But the only problem is we are still waiting for their results.
When Joy News visited the ward, we observed that the VIP ward has been divided into two. Patients with suspected cases of COVID-19 are treated at one wing, while the regular ones are at the other end. The staff described this as extremely risky to the patients.
One side, which is the west, we receive normal cases. In the east is where we have the suspected cases, which is very dangerous. But what can we say?
Hospital staff tell Joy News what's more dangerous is that they use one protective clothing for all clinical inspections. This is because of inadequate PPE at the maternity block.
The PPEs are not enough, so we are trying to manage. We are just trying to manage, but under normal circumstances, as soon as you enter any room, you should discard whatever you are wearing from head to toe. But when you enter one room, you move to another room with the same PPE.
The staff tell Joy News they have started taking COVID-19 medication in order to protect themselves as well as their families from contracting the virus.
I'm already on the medications, some of the medications, and I've started treating my kids as well. The whole family, we are on it.
They confirmed to us that transferring such cases to the maternity ward is because the holding bay for isolation is full.
My concern is, at least, they should make us know if really they are using the floor, maternity set floor, as a holding bay. Well, prepare our minds psychologically. Also, if we need training. Training has to be given to us. Under normal circumstances, those caring for the COVID patient, they all undergo special training. And those of us on the floor, we don't have that training. So how are we going to cater for the patients, even if we have people?
The Roads and Highways Minister designate, Kwesi Amoako-Attah, has been saying about increasing tolls in order to maintain, rehabilitate our roads, as well as maybe even construct new ones. We're hitting the streets this morning to interact with some ordinary Ghanaians and find out what they think about that initiative. It's a tricky one because the cars are free-flowing. It's difficult to actually peg down people to speak to them, but we're going to try to do exactly that right now. Do come with me. Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very quick question. Your name, please?
Robert.
Robert, now I just want to find out from you. The roads minister designate said he will actually increase road tolls. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's not that actually. Looking at the condition of the economy as of now, I think it should be maintained. Let's keep it like that for some time, and let's see how things goes.
Well, he thinks the road tolls should be maintained. And mind you,
per the checks I ran right before this discourse, some of the smaller cars, saloon cars, actually pay about 50 pesos. Then there are four-wheel drives, and maybe those Evans, the trot types, they pay 1 cedi. And of course, there are others, much bigger ones, depending on how big they are, their axles and all of that. They pay between 2 cedis and 2 cedis 50 pesos. So even then, the sum of money in context is different. Let's check out, see whether we can get some others to interact with this morning. Hello, good morning. Charles, the roads minister is saying that should he get the nod from Parliament, he will increase road tolls. What do you think about that? He is basically saying, Charles is basically saying that he is not in agreement and that it should be maintained. Let's go to the other end and find out whether we can get some people to interact with. All right, so some people not willing to interact with us. Hectic, but let's quickly see whether we can get some others to interact with on this stretch. It's pretty tricky business because everyone is in a bit of a hurry. And let me just speak to this lady here. Hello, good morning. The roads minister wants to increase road tolls, the designate. What do you think about that? Do you use this route every day?
I live at Bema. So definitely I'll be using these routes henceforth. And I don't think it's right for him to increase because we still have potholes on these routes that every time you have to swerve and probably you might even hit a pedestrian who's walking or who is crossing. Yes.
All right. So for you, there's no reason to increase it?
No, there's no reason because we have to see an improvement on the route before he has to increase there.
What's your name, please?
I'm Ruby.
All right. And that is Ruby. And she is saying from what she sees here and the problems on the roads, she doesn't feel there is any reason at all for the tolls to be increased. At least that is 3 out of 3. All of those we have spoken to this morning are in agreement that the road tolls should not be increased. But that is not what the sector minister designate has been thinking. We shall still try to interact with a few more people so we can get at least a good sample this morning of the thinking of ordinary Ghanaians. Do come with me and let's speak to a few more people on this stretch. Let's see whether we can interact with this trotro driver. Hello, good morning. What's your first name? Achu. Achu, roads minister no, or say etwana mutia wahano, or per se otum. What do you say?
Already what we are paying is too much for us. If another...
How much are you paying?
We are paying 1 cedi.
1 cedi, and 1 cedi is too much for you?
Yes.
So let's say if it's increased by just a bit, let's say 20 pesos, 30 pesos, would it be too difficult for you to pay?
Well, exactly so. Because already from here to Aplau, we pay 4 cedis. In and out is 6 cedis.
And so if you get it, you wouldn't want an increase?
No. This one is...
How about using that money to work on the roads? Don't you think that's a good thing?
Well, it's a good thing, but already what we are paying is I mean, it's somehow too much for us.
All right. That is Achu, a trotro driver, and he is saying, as far as he is concerned, they are already paying enough, that they don't need to pay anymore. Let's see whether we can get interactive with some more people. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you ply this route often?
Not that often. I
No.
only do visiting the port or working on the project at 25.
Right. So any increase in these tolls, do you think that would be a problem? That's what the roads minister designate is saying, that there's going to be an increase when he's actually given the nod by Parliament.
What would the increase add to the existing road?
He is saying it will help in rehabilitation and maybe the construction of new roads.
Have they added any figures to it as to how much it's going to cost us, and then the increase, and then how long will it be? So I think they have to revisit it.
All right. So these are some people that we are interacting with, and they have been sharing their thoughts. Earlier, I was speaking with the supervisor who is actually here with me now. And Mr. Supervisor, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
What's your name?
Modestus.
What's your name?
Modestus.
Modestus. Interesting name. Now, tell us about what you would see here on a normal day, the routine, and what you as officers actually do at the station.
Actually, this is what we see. What we are going on is what we are seeing now, because we actually road of all the lane are working. So when there's a traffic, you have an E-zone. Those who are paying for E-zone will pass the E-zone. Then those you can see that we have 8 lanes. So actually, to ease the traffic, we normally use all the 8 lanes. That's all.
Are there times when some of the lanes or some of the booths are not active?
All the booths are active, except U-zone. All the booths are active.
There's something else I noticed here, that some of our brothers with some disabilities or challenges are also in some of the booths, but others are able, bodied, so to speak. What is the policy? I know sometimes you use...
Policy, please, I think this message should be directed to our boss, please. I don't know anything about it, sir, please.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Modestus. He's actually the supervisor here, and he has been sharing his thoughts on some of these developments. Let's see, should time suffice, we would speak to maybe 1 or 2 more people and find out. So far, it is 4 or 5, all of them saying they don't want any increase in the tolls. And in fact, the very last person I interacted with said that he is not even seeing, the last 2 people I spoke to, they're saying they don't even see what the sums collected here are used for. And so for what reason would they have to pay more? Let's get interactive with 1 or 2 more people, and then it will be a wrap. Hello, good morning. You're okay, so I think we're not going to get to speak to someone else, but that is what we can bring you this morning from right here at the first toll booth on the Accra-Tema stretch. Back to you, Mama V.
Good morning, you're welcome to the Showbiz segment right here on the AM show. My name is Kadi Asamoah. Now let's talk about visually impaired Ghanaian singer Adelaide the Seer, and she has reviewed how she found her way into the Ghanaian music industry. Now in a conversation with KMJ on Joy Prime Showbiz Now, she shared that losing her sight birthed her dreams of becoming a musician. Now the singer, who has a new single out called Wami, also stated that she does not see her disability as a challenge. There's more.
I've never seen my condition as a challenge. I actually see it as a blessing in disguise.
I'm excited that you see beyond, what is that the reason why it gave birth to Adelaide the Seer, the name? How did that come about?
Okay, thank you very much. Adelaide the Seer, you rightly said, mostly our eyes, we use our eyes for mobility. But the real world, or where we actually want to get to, is in our minds. Vision surpasses sight. And so I'm not restricted at all. I see everything I want to do, and with faith, I move with determination and hard work. I would get there. I wouldn't need my physical eyes to get to where I want to. I just envision it, work and pray, and by God's grace, I eventually get there.
So how did Wami come about?
Okay, Wami, I was, I used to do some short videos, and the Gatti girl chanced upon one, connected me to Dope Nation, and they called me that they wanted to record a song with me. So when I got there, they've already done the beats, and then we put everything together, and Wami came up.
Okay, so the concept basically is about God's blessings to you, or what exactly?
Wami. Okay, so when you listen to the song from start to finish, I just say, no matter what I face, I look up to God, because I know that when I pray, He will hear my call.
Yep.
Yes, in fact, when He's sending it, I just want to say, to encourage everybody that no matter what you're going through, you just need the strength of God to go through life, and that's as wire me. That's the reason of my wire me, ginger me, empower me, or strengthen me. So that is it. That's just the basics of the song.
How would you describe your meeting with Dope Nation?
Okay, well, I would describe it as the start of greatness in my life.
I know, right?
Yes, and I think it's God's plan. Yes.
And so far, so good. I'm sure you've been enjoying every single moment that you've had with them.
Yes, please.
Awesome. If you just joined us over here on the show, Adelaide the Seer is my guest on the show. We're talking about her life and career.
Okay, so that was Adelaide the Seer. Wow,
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
She's got nice, big, beautiful eyes, and I want to listen to her music.
And her voice.
Oh,